Okay. This time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting for 6 p.m. Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2022. City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. We have with us in the chambers District 2, Grady Simpson. We have District 3, Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem. And we have District 4, Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. Vacant is District 5, so we do have a quorum present, and we'll kick this meeting off. If you would, Grady, please lead us in the invocation. If you would stand, remain standing for the pledges.
May we bow our heads, please? Oh, Father God, we come being grateful for another day that you've given us. We pray for your guidance and your wisdom in all that we do. Protect our families, protect our community, protect our citizens, and help us to live out your will daily in our life. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. All right. Our next item on the agenda is Mayor and Council Community Recognition and Events. I want to take a moment to thank Councilwoman Mayrani Velasquez for conducting the meeting last week. I was out of town, and I understand she did a wonderful job, so thank you for doing that. Thank the council members for conducting business, and while I hate that I wasn't here to send off District 5 Royce, I did give him a call, and we always want to say thank you for his service. Does anybody have any recognitions or events? I think we had a school event, Mayrani, that you were at.
Yes, so I just came from one of 3 Terrell ISD back-to-school events, all being hosted at parks. Today it was at Breezy Hill Park. Tomorrow the event will be at the Ben Gill Park, and then on Thursday the event will be at Arlie White Park, and those are from 5 to 6:30 each evening. I was able to thank our city staff who is helping set up with the event and has been there for a couple of hours. And it was quite warm out there, quite hot, but the families and the kiddos, from the cheerleaders to the little ones coming by and grabbing some of the giveaways and lunch, was really nice to see all the smiling faces in spite of the heat. So I think it's a really good thing to have a good relationship with the school district where you can use city facilities to reach community members where they're out for events like this.
Wonderful. I also want to say a big thank you to the volunteer fire departments and our Terrell fire departments. There was a fire, grass fire, I think 75 bales of hay, 5 acres plus of fire just north of my property, and they were able to knock it out and keep it. Luckily, the wind wasn't blowing towards the house, but they have had a very busy fire season with all the drought. And so we want to thank them for their efforts on a regular basis of keeping us safe and out of harm's way. Grady, did you have something?
Yes, Mayor, I have a recognition here. A good friend and Christian brother of mine, James Weaver. I just want to take the time to recognize him. I always admired him. He's a former CEO of one of my favorite gyms, Gold's Gym. And he also helped build a company, Technol, from the ground up, built it over 20 years. And it was so impressive. A company by the name of Kimberly Clark purchased it. I'm quite sure all of you are familiar with Kimberly Clark, but he's been a great advisor to me, a great mentor, and he's my special guest. And I just wanted to have his presence here with me. He had a little dinner with me, and I just thank you for coming out.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, the next item on the agenda is to hear remarks from visitors. Don, do we have anyone? All right, so our next item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes. Discuss and consider approval of the minutes from the regular city council on July the 26th of 2022. Is there a motion?
As presented.
We have a motion for Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem, District 3. Is there a second?
I second.
Have a second from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is discuss and consider resolution number 2020, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, declaring a vacancy in City Council seat for District Number 5. This is Don.
Mayor and council, Tim Royce submitted a letter to City Council resigning his position as City Council member for District Number 5 on June 30th, 2022. This resolution declares a vacancy in City Council seat for District Number 5.
So, council, as you all know, Tim made the council aware of his intentions of resigning effective August the 1st. And by charter, we weren't able to act until the seat was vacant. So this kind of triggers the process as we move forward. I'm guessing that we need to approve the resolution that would trigger the council's action at filling the vacancy. And it's just part of the process. I'm hopeful that later on in our meeting, maybe an executive session, that we can bring this item up for discussion. Again, this is the first action that we're able to take because this is the first meeting that we actually had a vacant seat. So with that,
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
anything that I missed?
No, Mr. Mayor, I think you said it exactly right. It's up to the council now to approve this resolution and move forward with filling the seat.
Okay, so is there a motion on item 7.1?
Yes, Mayor, may I make a motion in declaring the vacancy in City Council seat for District Number 5, Resolution 2020?
And approving the resolution of number 2020, correct?
Correct, sir. 2020.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem, District 3. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is discuss and consider appointment to Planning and Zoning Commission, Council Board Responsibilities. This is going to be again Don.
Mayor and council, there is a roster for the Planning and Zoning Commission in your packet. Rosie Juarez has submitted her resignation, so that leaves an open spot on that board. There are several applications in the packet as well, and this falls under my Ronnie Velasquez.
Okay, Councilwoman, do you have any action that you would like to take tonight?
Mayor, I'd like to table item 7.2 until next week.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, to table item 7.2. Is there a second? Have a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is 7.3, discuss upcoming meeting calendars. This is going to be Don.
Mayor and council, in your packet, there's a calendar for August and September 2022. As you all know, the council budget retreat will be this Thursday and Friday, August 4th and 5th at the Terrell Police Headquarters in the Rosenbaum Room. It will be from 9 to 5 both days. Also, we have council meetings every Tuesday in August and September, and all of the other boards and commissions are listed as well.
Okay, so, council, I know we're busy and we have a lot of meeting schedule. And I apologize for the busy schedule. I remember being elected to District 5 when Henry Madrick was the mayor, and we used to hunt for things to put on the agenda. It was so slow. There just wasn't nothing happening. There was no homes being built, no commercial, no retail, no industrial. And so we've gone from nothing happening to we can't keep up. We just don't have enough days to meet. So I apologize ahead of time, but it's crucial that we have your input as we move forward through August and September, especially during the budget. And does anybody have any days that it will not work for you? All right, so thank you for helping us clear that calendar. If for some reason there is a conflict, please let us know as soon as possible. Again, it's crucial that we move forward with District 5 and getting that seat appointed so that we can continue with the quorum. But again, we'll discuss that at the appropriate time. Next item on the agenda to discuss North Spur Development Project. This is Mr. Godwin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll just make a few introductory comments before we have the developer make their presentation. This is the project, which is we've also referred to as TERS number 4. And you've been getting some information, having some meetings and discussions with the city manager about the TERSs that are coming up. This is located on the north side of Highway 80 on the far west side of town. This is an area that's part of a WICID, a Water Control Improvement District. It's been there for quite some time. I have concept plans that include hundreds of houses, thousands of houses rather, and hundreds and hundreds of apartments, and nothing else but residential properties. And so that's kind of where we were. Hines came along. Hines is a high-quality company, a well-known company. They're known for a high-quality product. So we're fortunate they bought the project through a long process of discussion, negotiation, sometimes fussing, mostly by their side, not ours, of course, because we're always friendly and nice. We've reached a plan that we think is very, very good for all concerned, especially for the city in our case. It includes voluntary annexation. For all these negotiations with the TERSs, voluntary annexation is a big deal. That's a huge thing for us because these properties on the edge of town are going to get developed no matter what. If they get developed in the unincorporated county, we have little control over the quality, the density, those kinds of things before they build, and then after they build, we have even less control over what's going on in those areas. So it's very important to get annexations, and since the state took a lot of the annexation authority away from the cities, it's very important that we get these voluntary annexations. In this case, we're having a large mix of uses. It's not going to be all residential. The number of houses has been reduced dramatically. It's down to 1,600 and change now. There are no apartments in there now at all. There is a large area that's going to be light industrial technology research. The developer has agreed to purchase the old racetrack property to the east of this property. That's additional property that will be improved. That'll also be research technology, light industrial. And then actually facing Highway 80 will be commercial, retail, those kinds of things, as opposed to just an ocean of apartments like was originally planned by previous owners. So you have different sizes of lots. You have quality streets. You have quality landscaping. You have significant recreational space, both active and passive recreation. You have just open space. You have all those kinds of things. And, 4 big types of uses you want in a city are there in just this one community, and that's light industrial, commercial jobs, which are important, the retail, the residential without multifamily in this case. Multifamily is important, but not there. And then open space, recreation space. So we're getting 4 kinds of land uses here in a single thing. So it's a really good opportunity for the city. Another thing I want to mention, well, let me go back to that. Well, I don't want to take too much time. Let me just jump ahead. So another one of the things that's really important is transportation, traffic, congestion, pollution, all those kinds of things that come when you start building new stuff. And so it's really, there's a temptation to say, gee, we're going to have 1,600 and something new houses. That's going to be a whole lot more people going to the schools, a lot more people driving on the roads and getting in, and so forth and so on. That was going to happen anyway without the deal that we have with Hines, the progress we've made with Hines, that was going to happen anyway, except it was going to be even more traffic and more people. So again, this is a successful process that we've gone through to date. Also, one of the values to having an old transportation planner from COG for your city is he always looks beyond just that neighborhood. So it's not just a matter of how do we take care of this neighborhood, it's how do we fit into this whole area regionally. So it serves not just this neighborhood, but for other people. In this case, it's in a really crucial location for two reasons. One is it's on Highway 80. Highway 80 is already pretty dangerous without an extra 1,600 houses. And so this program has gone through a lot of iterations with various engineers, their engineers, our engineers, third-party engineers. Steve Rogers, your city engineer, has ridden herd on this and done a great job with that. So we really think we've got, it'll actually be safer, it'll be better and easier for people to get out of there, and by the way, hang a left and come into Terrell proper than it is even now when it's mostly just vacant land. The other big thing is that this developer is setting aside a 500-foot wide strip, which is huge, for the outer loop. So when the outer loop gets ready to build and it comes through Terrell, there will be an obvious location. It's the location we want, and it's being dedicated by the developer. So it's a really good project. We're really pleased with it, and I'm sorry to be taking so much of your time to talk about that. Some of this stuff maybe they're going to say too, but I'll be quiet now. I'll introduce you to Dustin Davidson, is from Hines, and then also Angela Hunt is the attorney that's representing them in this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Godwin. I can tell you're feeling better. Yes.
Mayor and council, thank you for your time. As John said, my name is Dustin Davidson. I'm managing director at Hines, and I'm in charge of the North Spur project. For those of you who don't know about Hines, Hines is a privately held, family-owned company. We're now on our third generation of Hines. We are headquartered in Houston, and always have been. We're a Texas company. And we have done developments across the world. We are, depending on how you count it, one of, if not the largest private developers in the world. But we break out into local teams. I've only worked in the DFW area. My whole team has only worked in the DFW area, so we are local experts. We have been developing single-family land for approximately almost 20 years. We have over 20 projects across DFW, totaling over 20,000 lots. We've been in Frisco, Prosper, McKinney, Royce City, Waxahachie, Southlake, Las Colinas, and I could go on and on. So we've got a pretty broad scope that we've done, and we're very excited to be in Terrell. This is an area that we had circled on the map for some time, and we felt this was the right opportunity. And, and honestly, the city has been great to work with. Mike is a pretty good negotiator, sometimes a little too good, but we ultimately, both parties, I think, came away pleased with the process and the result. So this is our concept plan. North Spur is the name. A lot of, John gave you some of the facts, but we've got a large residential area for single family. Down on Highway 80, the two kind of pink boxes, those were originally multifamily, and through discussions and working with the city staff, that's now retail. And then in the middle, that's where you see the 500-foot right-of-way dedication. And, that was, we think it'll be a good outcome for us. We lost a lot of lots doing that, but I think in the long term, it's going to be better for everyone. And then on the east side, you can see our light industrial, research and technology district. And on the right of the creek, the little green creek, that's the racetrack property that we are under contract and are going to purchase later this month. And then this is just an overview of the different uses. One thing that's interesting about North Spur is, given its location and proximity to some of the floodplain and the creeks, we have a very outsized open space percentage compared to most of the developments we've been involved in. There's ample room for trails, large areas for parks. People can play soccer and, run around and do that sort of thing. We've got a large amenity center. And so it's going to be a highly amenitized neighborhood. Another thing that Hines takes very seriously is the marketing of the neighborhood. There are a lot of single family developments out there, and Hines really prides itself on being a step above. And so this is preliminary concepts. We'll be refining these as we go. That usually happens closer to our delivery of homes. But our goal is to create a sort of a beacon of a neighborhood that everyone it's instantly recognizable, not just in Terrell, but in the whole eastern submarket of DFW. We want to be a leader in that area. We took these images from a comparable neighborhood in terms of, market and things in Royce City. We're under construction, we've sold approximately 200 lots, over 100 homes are under construction right now. You can go drive up to Royce City and look at it. It's been very successful for us. North Spur is going to have significantly better amenities, significantly better open space than this one, just given the geometry of the site and through, discussions with Mike and your staff. But we just wanted to show those in case anyone wants to go look at the end product. We have not designed the amenity center yet. That comes later in the process. But we worked with our landscape architect and talked through our plans and just took some images and renderings of what we have in store. Final design will come later. But we have a really good track record of delivering best-in-class amenities. Here are some of the parks. Trails are a big thing. When you do surveys with home buyers and residents who live, the number one amenity right now is not actually pools, it's trails. People want to get out, they want to run, bike, walk with a family, do all of that. And we've got a unique opportunity with our very large area adjacent to the creek on the west side of the property to have really an outsized trail system for the size of the neighborhood. And so we're very excited about that. We think that the future residents will really enjoy that. We're going to have, multiple parks for children, and we like to make sure that we get play elements for all ages because we expect North Spur is going to have something for everyone, right? From the starter home to the family that, is settling down and on up. Angela?
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Angela Hind. I'm the attorney for Hines. As Dustin mentioned, Hines is known for high-quality developments, and we wanted to ensure that that was incorporated into the zoning requirements for this district. What we did is we based the zoning request on City of Terrell requirements, and they are very similar, but there are some key differences. We wanted to ensure that the style of the homes, the design of the homes, the masonry requirements were incorporated into the zoning standards. We have a non-monotony restriction so that you don't see the same home over and over. We have masonry requirements so that these are quality homes. And we also have design elements that are required, such as porches, such as copper awnings, a menu of items that the home builders can choose from, again, to make sure that this is a top quality development. For the retail sub-district, the only request we made here was 10 feet in height, but you can see we also added standards from the Highway Corridor District. The Highway Corridor District wasn't quite the right fit here, but the retail district incorporating the Highway Corridor District requirements was the right fit. The research and technology sub-district is generally the same. Again, we made some changes to address some particular needs of the site. For example, data center use, ensuring that parking for data center use and parking for warehouse and distribution centers were appropriate and what the market requires. And then also setbacks and screening from adjacent residential, ensuring that the type of streets that we have separating our industrial from our residential is sufficient to address the screening requirements. Do we want to go back and just highlight anything or any questions?
No, I think we highlighted it also.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, open for questions.
Angela and Dustin, before you take questions, would you mind introducing the rest of the team out there so everybody knows who else came with you?
Yeah, so we've got Eddie Eckert with GM Civil. He is our civil engineer and has been involved working with the staff. He and his team have been working through all of the engineering questions, of which there's been many. And so he's a key member of our team. We have Steve Robinson. He's another attorney for some of the district and how the WCID folds into the city and all of that. He's here as well. We also have Ryan Nesmith, who's our financial analyst for the WCID.
And I brought Lindsay Kramer, our senior land use planner, as well.
So I guess I would make a comment first, is that we are excited to have and look forward to working with partners that have high standards and high qualities, right? so many times as mayor and council, we see presentations and you bring slides that look a certain way and then they put another product out there. I hope that's not the case. And I don't feel like it would be. If you would go to slide 4, your 4th slide. And is it the 4th? I think one more, that one right there. And could you zoom in to your relocation of your offices from Houston to Terrell? Would you mind doing that for us, please? Because I can't quite make it out. No, hey, when we partner with somebody, we're all in. And it's important to us that you are successful because it speaks volumes to our staff and our city. And so we want to welcome the partnership. And yeah, we're going to have some bumps in the road, but we're going to hold your feet to the fire as well. Does any of the council member have any questions for either Angela or Dustin?
I guess one of mine was answered. I was, the new term that you said, the non-monotony restriction. I had another term for it, but I like this one better, but I appreciate that concept. And in terms of the amenities and the trails and parks, I think I heard you, David, say multiple parks. This location is going to have multiple parks? Is that the concept?
Yeah, that's right. So if you look at the concept plan, sort of the shaded pink area with a pond underneath it, that pond exists in generally that form today. That will be our amenity center for our residents. That's where there will be a big pool, play features. Like I said, we haven't done the final design, but we can show you some of our other work if you'd like. And so that will be located there. On the west, in the large open area, I'm blanking on the acreage. I believe it's 70 or
I think it's over 100.
it's over 100 acres of open space, and we're going to activate that with trails. Where it's kind of hard to see with the Zoom, but we've added parking. The idea that the general public would be able to come and utilize those facilities, sort of where there's cul-de-sacs and areas, we've added parking for that. We're going to have miles and miles of hike and bike trails. Once again, not final design. We have to start with preliminary, and then once this all gets approved, then we'll hit the design hard. But it'll likely be a mix of, it'll be concrete. We might do some decomposed granite where it makes sense for a more natural feel. The market likes that. It's the same price, but the market sometimes likes that. And then throughout the community, there's various what we call pocket parks, and that's really for the classic example is if mom's taking the baby out in the stroller, they can go sit down, relax. There's usually going to be benches, shade structures, maybe some small play areas, and those are scattered throughout the community.
Awesome, thank you.
So being born and raised here in Terrell, I did a lot of dove hunting out on this piece of property. I hate to see the dove hunting go away, but welcome to the city of Terrell. Mayrani, did you have anything?
Yes, so my question is in regards, and comment is in regards to parking. I want to make sure that I challenge you to have a review of the past projects that you've completed and whether they've incorporated this much land for park use. And when it comes to the parking, I see there's about, on the northern side of the northwest side of the development, I believe there's 40-something parking spaces, if I'm seeing that correctly. And then on the southern west end of the development, there's about 17 parking spaces. And this development is proposed to go in an area where there's a highway, and there's not a lot of hiking trails in Kaufman County. There's one that's in Crandall. And when I drove through Crandall recently, it's also next to in this case, a farm-to-market road. And I just looked at that parking area and thought, my goodness, when more individuals hear about this park and the availability for them to use, where are the vehicles going to go? Are they going to go in front of those homeowners' houses? Because they're going to get hit if they go on. There's really not a lot of curb on that specific farm-to-market road that I'm referring to. So I want to make sure that we do have enough parking spaces for, my hope is that we have many City of Terrell residents and maybe some outside of the city and this development that use those trails. So I want to make sure that we're not also creating a nuisance to those homeowners.
Sure. So a couple of items on that. One is all of our homes have a minimum two-car garage. That's a requirement. So they can, and then all of the driveways can accommodate two cars as well. Depending on how small it is, maybe more, but it's designed for two cars. So every house should have 4 parking spots. And we all know sometimes people use the garage for storage, but the roads here are such a width that they can accommodate cars parking on the side of the road. Now, for the parking lots, they're designed in such a way that they can, there's areas for expansion as the demand grows. We've done this in many of our communities. What we found is in these large master plan communities, for the first few years, people don't really know about anything, even the residents, and it kind of grows over time. So we've laid this out with expansion in mind as needed, because I promise you, we will be getting the calls as the developer if there's a congestion, and we will endeavor to solve it. I think for now, I mean, what we're doing is appropriate, given that these are public streets, right? I mean, we cannot prohibit anyone from parking on the streets. And there's going to be plenty of room, given the width of that pavement, for overflow parking. But I think day to day, a trail's not as intensive of a use. I mean, it's not as, I doubt that there's gonna be a lot of just big rush hours. I mean, and that's what, we'll talk to our landscape architect and come up with some use patterns, but it's just in our experience, they kind of come and go throughout the day. So that's why we feel our current parking is sufficient.
If I am parking my vehicle in a driveway, what are the, what's the fees? How much feet do I have to park the vehicle? And I'm thinking about our large trucks that sometimes, community members may have, maybe not fit inside of a garage, so I think you're supposed to fit 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
Personal and everyone likes that, but, if I have one large diesel truck, is that all that fits? Do I get 2 cars to fit there? Do I get a car for the street? What does that look like?
Eddie, do you want to talk about any of the setbacks and all that for the driveway?
Eddie Ecker, GM Civil. Yeah, the front yard setback that's listed here is at 15 feet, but I believe that relates to actually front porches. The houses and garage setback is at 20. So you're talking about 20 feet from the right-of-way, and then we've got an extra wide right-of-way that's, 12 or 14 feet,
Yeah,
if
and
I
I
remember
think
what we
maybe,
ended up.
if you don't mind, maybe the better way to state it, because the way I think council's used to hearing it is, what's the measurement from back of sidewalk to garage door? And I believe that's the 20-foot.
That is exactly correct.
From
Yep.
back of the sidewalk to the front of the garage door, that's the 20-foot distance that we've tried to start using as a standard.
And a typical parking space is 9 by 18, just FYI. So again, yes, a typical parking space can get tight for the bigger trucks. That's the reason that 20-foot will accommodate those larger trucks.
So Mayor and Council, I'll go through just a couple of points that are related to this project to make sure everybody's up to speed with it. Mr. Godwin and the mayor and I were at County Commissioners Court just this morning, talking to them about the tax increment refinance zone that is intended for this project. Lots of good discussion at the county there. They've got a scheduled date of August the 30th for their vote on the tax increment refinance zone, so that's an important step. The outer loop is, as they said, included here. You recall the county has hired a consultant, HDR, to do a study of the outer loop, and so that process is just now getting kicked off and getting started, but it's so important to the Texas Department of Transportation that they've actually already developed a schematic for the intersection of the outer loop and US 80 and Spur 557 at this location. And the TxDOT public meeting that happened here recently at the school in Forney, covering all of the US 80 Spur 557 reconstruction plan, actually showed to the public that interchange location, which is actually at this location that they've been willing to work with us on. So that's a very important element, and TxDOT's well on their way with that planning element. They've included a backage road, which shows up on the site plan there as the road that's just to the north of the retail and swings around. I think one of the best things going here is they're not asking all those residents to just drive on the frontage road. We were able to do enough work with TxDOT and enough preliminary work with the Hines team to make sure that those residents can get out to a traffic light on US 80 and return back in the Walmart direction. And that's the purpose of what shows up there is that backage road. Very, very important safety element there. This was shown to your Planning and Zoning Commission several weeks back. They did vote to approve it, conditional on the negotiation of an annexation and the negotiation of a development agreement. So that was a unanimous vote. We are working right now along the US 80 corridor on waterline easement acquisition associated with this project. So there's already been landowners out in that area contacted about accessing their property to determine the ability to acquire a water line out in that area. So all of this then needs to get packaged up together to come forward, as we've had on some of these other projects where we do annexation, zoning, approval of development agreement, several other things in that package all on one night, and that's what we're aiming for here in the next little while. So again, lots of work going into it. Hines has been a good team to work with, and I think we've got a really nice opportunity here for somebody to be proud to live in this community for years to come. Remember, our philosophy is always not what is going to be great about this neighborhood the day it opens, but will this neighborhood have things about it that make people want to live in it 50 years from now? And I think we've got a good combination there that will make that a workable thing for us. So anyhow, thank you to the team, and you guys will see it on a following city council meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is discuss ordinance number 2915, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, amending Appendix 2 zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell, Section 9, Zoning Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Section 6, variances and special exceptions, Paragraph C, findings of undue hardship, providing for severability and providing an effective date. This is Mr. Shumpert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This ordinance was brought about due to a change in state law regarding the granting of variances and the special exceptions for undue hardship. In the past, it's been somewhat vague as to the criteria that the Zoning Board of Adjustment could use in granting such a hardship. In the past, it's also said that it could not be financial in any way. This has clarified that somewhat. They've brought 5 additional steps or reasons that could be a basis for granting a hardship variance. It can be limited to a financial reason. However, I think it's important to note that these are merely guidances for the board. The board remains independent. They don't have to grant a variance. They can grant a variance under these conditions, but there's nothing that says they have to. And it's my intention at the request of staff to be present at the next ZBA meeting to brief them on these changes. They are a part of state law now, so we certainly don't want to be in conflict with state law, which is why we're bringing this ordinance to you tonight, so that we can get it on the books prior to the next ZBA meeting, and then I can brief them at that time.
Okay.
And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So it sounds like to me we're just taking a proactive approach to this new laws that are coming into effect? Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. Shumpert?
Mr. Shumpert,
Yes, ma'am.
other than these 5 being additions to the current law, you're saying all 5 are being added because they're new law? Or is there 1 or 2 that aren't new law but we're adding in?
No, ma'am, they're all 5 laid out in the Texas Local Government Code.
And they're the only 5 that we're missing at this time?
That's correct. But that, again, that does not preclude the zoning board of adjustment. They're independent, as you know. You have put those folks there. They're very qualified individuals. You charge them with making those decisions. And the only appeal that there is from their decisions is to one of the county courts. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you the editorial comment that this is a law that came up because other cities started writing their own rules interpreting state law. And there are some cities that got into the point of maybe they had hardship requirements that were eccentric, I'll call them eccentric, right? So I think that got the attention of some state lawmakers, that there were some eccentric cities around that had passed some fairly oddball things that they put into their ZBA requirements. And this was really about the state saying, hey, let's get rid of those in these other cities. Let's be consistent across the way cities do this. I really don't think this is going to make major differences in how the city of Terrell administers things, because we're not a city who had made up a bunch of extra rules that this then precludes. So for us, pretty straightforward. We like following state law, and Greg's written this up, so we follow state law.
It does, and it gives the board a little bit more, I don't know if cover is the right word or not, but it certainly would lay out some very clear guidelines that they could utilize should they choose to do so.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Is there a motion on 8.2? Oh, it is, you're right. So this is just for discussion.
Right, we'll come back.
Got it.
It'll come back to us.
All right. And we'll see this when, next,
Yes, sir.
next Tuesday? Okay. Next item on the agenda is discuss Northgate water line relocation. That's Mr. Rogers. Are you up?
Absolutely. Steve's going to come up and tell us a little bit about this. I think the history on this is, first off, you can blame Mike Sims for labeling it incorrectly. It ought to have been labeled the Southgate Drive Water Line Relocation Project, and Steve's been making fun of me all day for making that mistake. But take it away, Steve.
Thank you. This is part of Creekside Phase 5 that's currently under construction out there. We had a construction plat approved a few months back, and after they got in there and started doing some work, we realized that we knew there was a 16-inch water main that was in the back of the houses at Front on Town North, which would be in the back of these houses that are on the top of this page here. And so they realized that the water line was installed outside of the prescribed easement just a little bit, and it created a small backyard for these houses that back up there. So the solution was, Dawn, if you don't mind, are you able to pull up the next page, please? I'm sorry, I told you I wasn't going to do that. Thank you. So if you can follow on the left side of the page, there's a 16-inch water main. It goes all the way across the back of these yards. We're taking it now and we're bringing it into this Southgate Street. That's the bold black line that you see cutting across the page. And we're going to bring it back in behind the Emmanuel Baptist Church there and tie it back in there. And so this was kind of a situation where we wanted it moved because it was going to create a problem for us accessing it in the back after we looked at it again. And it was out of the easement. It was going to create really tiny backyards to keep people from building on top of it, keep fences off of it, storage buildings, swing sets, et cetera, and so on. So we decided to take, with the cooperation of the developer, to take the 16-inch water main and just move it into the street and move it back behind there for this section here. And that was a joint issue. That cost is $196,842.75. Part of what we had to do as well, if you'll go back to the other map, Don, we needed to change some of the lots a little bit because we wanted the water line to stay on their property. So they had to create a water line easement on both ends of this, and they had to squeeze some of these lots together just a little bit. So we distributed that through the lots to change the width of them slightly as they went along, and they cooperated with us on that as well. And so with that, we need an agreement to paper this up, and I'm going to let Mike and or Greg talk about the agreement. And
So really simple. We asked Greg to kind of take the lead on getting an agreement put together. The landowner has an attorney he's worked with for some time, and Greg's known that attorney for quite some time. So on your agenda next week, you'll see a presentation from Greg where he'll show you the legal agreement that's been put together. You're actually looking at two exhibits that will be in that agreement, and it prescribes how the payments are going to be made with that $196,000. Greg, did you want to throw in anything in there?
Sure, what we try to do is to try to make the cost as easily absorbed as possible. We try to spread it out. We'll pay, the agreement we've negotiated would provide for an initial payment of $100,000 up front when the construction is commenced and an easement is forwarded, or rather an invoice rather is forwarded to the city. And then the balance would be paid within 90 days after Steve accepts the line as being complete, and again, we receive an invoice. We spread it out over 90 days, so I feel like that would be a help. Also, it corrects a problem. I mean, we had a line, let's face it, folks, we had a line that was not in the easement. And we don't, that's not a good situation under any circumstances. So that corrects that situation, which I think is one of the biggest pluses. And again, I think we've been very fortunate, and Steve alluded to this, and I guess Mike did too. We've been fortunate that the developer's been very cooperative with us on this and doing this in a joint way so that we can get this done, in a timely manner.
I think we could have easily found ourselves in a lawsuit based on where we had the line.
And I would hate for us to have to go to court on
Yes,
that.
yeah, no, I don't, that's not something we can win. Now, my question to you, is this gonna be is this gonna be an expenditure in 2022 or 2023?
It'll be in fiscal year '23.
Okay,
Before this line's built and accepted.
okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, cool. Any questions? Something we need to do, we have to do. Again, if we'd had the line in the right place, maybe not, but it is what it is. So this too will be coming back to us next Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
All right, at this time, we're going to adjourn into executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Section 551.071, consultation with attorneys, and Section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations. We are now in executive session. Did you do that to her, Mayor Ronnie? Were y'all in executive session where you could?
She did good, let me tell you, she did very well,
She hit
Mayor.
that gavel, man.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
You would be very pleased.
We are going to reconvene into regular session and consider action, if any, on items discussed in executive session. I do have a motion to put forward. I would like to appoint Mayrani Velazquez, District 3 Mayor Pro Tem, and Grady Simpson, District 2, to a search committee for replacement